Alright guys, such comic again today. Hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. Shotzzy telling all about the progression of Dashy over the last few years, going as far to say that back in Vanguard, he actually hated teaming with Dashy for similar reasons to the way that he currently doesn't like Gwynn's gameplay. As he said the other day, Gwinn has the least efficient gameplay of all time, and Shotzzy says in Vanguard, Dashy, in some senses, was actually kind of similar, but the progression that he's made over the last couple of years has made that into the duo, the force that they are today, winning back-to-back world titles, the first duo to ever do that. Could they go for the three-peat next year? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Zuma, Cook and Zinni in these 1v1s over the last couple of days. We'll see whether we get Fringe in the map pool for the World Cup. That is still a talking point. We've got some 8s back underway as well. As Drazah says, he's playing with Pred, Illy, Dan Ghosty, TJ, Byron, Prolute, 04 and Neum. Neum's actually going to be playing at the World Cup because he subbed in for Team War because Diamond Con has gone to LAG Mate instead of FeLo, so Neum came into Team War instead. It's all a bit of a mess, as you can tell. But yeah, can you believe it? Well, we've got some Search and Destroy 8s back on the menu. Confusing, really, that we saw, like, none of these guys playing at all going into the World Championship, but now for the World Cup, everyone's keen again, apparently. So that's kind of come out of nowhere, but it is good to see. Of course, with Drazah streaming again, there have been some questions. What are FaZe going to do? How much does this tournament matter for them? I think the reality is, it matters rather a lot. Last year, 6th at the World Championship, won the World Cup, stuck it out together, despite the fact that Cellium thought that he was getting dropped. This year, 6th at the World Championship. The question for me is, even if they win the World Cup, should they stick? And then the question becomes, can they even stick? Because as I've said, with other teams potentially coming along with some serious money, with Falcons maybe interested in aBeZy, is it possible that even if they kind of want to, money ends up talking and they decide to separate because they could certainly justify it, right? I think that's the point. For years, FaZe have never been able to justify making a change because it's like, well, we're still winning all the time. We're still in all the finals. We're still winning all the money. Whereas this year, and even for the last couple of years, OpTic making a million changes, they won more money because they won champs both years and therefore they've eclipsed FaZe's prize earnings substantially over the last couple of seasons. Even if FaZe win the World Cup and OpTic come dead last, I still think that FaZe will have won less money than OpTic over the last couple of seasons because of the success at the World Championship. So it's not like you can not justify making a change anymore. You actually very much so can, because that was the theory with FaZe, is like, okay, well, even if we're not winning everything, then at least it's still worth it. But it's not necessarily. Yeah, they've still done very well, and you know, they will likely continue to do so, but time will tell what happens next. Just quickly on the CDL schedule, I don't know what this looks like yet. There was a rumour that we could be going to Stockholm in November because there's another DreamHack event right at the end of November in Stockholm, Sweden. And people have said, okay, maybe you run a kickoff event there. I think there could well be a kickoff event. I think the reality is we need a kickoff event before Christmas. I think that's an ideal scenario, is that the game comes out late October, early November, and then there's, you know, a few weeks into the game, there's a kickoff tournament somewhere to see what happens, and then you start the majors at the start of January, or maybe the end of January after some qualifiers. That could be a reasonable way to do it. I'm hoping that I'm not hoping things are more spread out. What I am hoping for is at least 5 major cycles. That would be fantastic. Obviously, I would like to see 6 major cycles or 7, but, you know, let's keep optimistic here. Let's, you know, not be too unrealistic, let's say, with our expectations. I would love to have a kickoff in late part of the year and have 5 majors plus champs plus the World Cup. That'd be great. Whether we get that, I don't know. As, you know, JoeDeceives says here, the location maybe is a point here too. So even if it is 4 majors plus champs, I'm hoping the locations are cool. I know there was talk about getting a Chicago event over the last year or so. That never happens. Of course, I'd like to have something back in the UK or somewhere else, just because after Madrid, which was a great event last year, I'm hoping, and I think they will do another one in Europe, but where that is a question. I'm sure there's going to be lots of intrigue to have it happen in Paris, maybe, or just somewhere in France. I mean, ideally Paris, right? But wherever they were to do it, that could be an option, because Gentlemates and the French fans, like, they were mega out there in Madrid. Can't imagine how it would be in France. And then London's always a good option too. So there's some options out there. We'll see what they come up with. We tend to find this out in, I want to say, the next couple of months. We'll start to hear serious rumours, and then they'll confirm it near enough when the game launches, right? So it's going to be a good few months here until we really know what's going on, but I'm sure there's going to be some leaks and some rumors over time. Let's talk about this duo though. As Dashy says, happy birthday, back-to-back duo. We had players that won the World Championship back-to-back before, right? We had Karma, won it in 2013, 2014. We had Clayster, won it in 2019, 2020. And we had JCap, who won it in 2015, 2016. But all of those guys never did that with the same players, right? Their teammates across those two victories were all totally different to their teammates the year prior. So Shotzzy and Dashy become the only players to ever have done it as a duo back-to-back. Maybe they'll go for one more. But there was lots of talk about it, right? Because Shotzzy was commenting on Dashy. Dashy's been such an, I wouldn't say enigmatic exactly, but his career arc has been so interesting, where he's come from all the talk about work ethic and the problems that teams were maybe having with him inside and outside of the game, and then just play style, right? There was for a long time discussion, and for understandable reasons, Dashy 2 chips in 7 years, he's not playing the game the right way, and all these other things, despite, yeah, shooting straight, dropping good numbers. And I think, really, the change noticeably started at the start of last season. I think there was a bit of it in Modern Warfare 2 as well, but certainly at the start of last season in Modern Warfare 3, it was immediately notable that Dashy was playing a better style of COD. He was much more objective orientated, and to some degree that's kind of what that game needed. But Dashy's numbers all of a sudden weren't as good, but his teams got better, and as a result the performances of himself were more impactful, despite the fact that his KD might not have been as strong as it was in previous seasons. So Shotzzy's team with Dashy now for a long time, ever since the merger, right, between OpTic and Envy, which very much so changed the course of OpTic and Envy history. Envy might be back in due course. Just to quickly explain that, Envy effectively, absorbed OpTic, if that's really the word. But then it all rebranded to OpTic because it's OpTic, right? So now Hastro's left and he's taken the Envy branding with him, so effectively OpTic is now kind of part of what Envy used to be. It's all a little bit complicated, but the point is that that merger between the two organizations changed a lot, because otherwise OpTic Shotzzy may never have been a thing. And ever since the merger happened, going into the Vanguard season, that's when Shotzzy and Dashy played together for the first time, and they have been doing since then, although there have been some hiccups, let's say, along the way over the last couple of years. But Shotzzy reveals he likes this word Shotzzy efficient, and people are asking him, okay, what do you mean by efficiency exactly? Because he said the other day that Gwinn is the, well, he actually said the most least efficient, but what he meant is the least efficient player in the game. He's not impressed by how much impact Gwinn gets from the kills that he delivers on the map. And Shotzzy's been talking and thinking a lot about this lately. And this is the thing with Shotzzy. People say, oh, this guy's brain dead and all this. And, okay, outside of the game, this guy might not be the smartest cookie in the tub. Maybe I'm not the smartest cookie with that reference, but you know what I'm saying anyway. In the game, everyone gives Shotzzy his gas as being a really smart, switched-on player, and he wouldn't have won numerous chips across Halo and COD and like 4 rings across those two different franchises if he didn't know what he was talking about. So Shotzzy's perspective, it was quite interesting to say that when he used to play with Dashy, he actually used to hate it because of the way that Dashy played the game. Now, of course, that's very much changed around over the last couple of years, and it's cool to see this duo becoming as impactful as they have now become.
I feel like Bruce just wants to be told how to play. Yeah. That's kind of how Brandon is, to be honest. Brandon's very, very smart. He actually is. But he definitely prefers whenever people tell him, like, what to do, for sure. The thing about Brandon is that, bro, Brandon literally sometimes blacks out and, like, doesn't know what the fuck's happening. Efficient is more like, I could try to explain it. It's just more of, like, getting space for your team. So, like, on a rotation, right? Like, you getting a kill in a power spot, okay? Let's say you get in a kill in a power spot where you know deep down your best, this is your like time to just win the majority of your gunfights, if that makes sense. Whether that be like a head glitch, power position. And I'm not gonna lie, yo, I'm gonna be honest. At one point, Brandon was like that when I was teaming with him. I'm not saying that he was like that this year or last year, but at one point, that's how he was. That's why in Vanguard, I low-key hated playing with him. You need that, like, just be efficient, bro. Get a kill, get space for your team. Allow your ARs to fucking... Bro, the ARs, I'm not gonna lie, ARs are fucking AIs, bro. The ARs literally go to the same spots on every fucking rotation all over and over and over. Our jobs are completely different. Our jobs is literally to take space. Obviously, there's times that, like, depending on the row, you need to, you know, play tight, get a wave, and then push out, but, like... Oh, fuck. Alright, well, fuck that guy.
Again, this question raises thoughts around Cellium and Dashy as players. I think maybe Cellium especially, right? So these numbers are from the Vanguard season, the season that Shotzzy was talking about. And that year, it was a big debate among the fans. Who was the MVP? Was it Cell? Was it Dashy? They gave it to Cellium in the end. It was a big debate because Cellium didn't win anything that year, even though they came second a million times. Dashy did, but Cell was maybe slightly better, although maybe Dashy was better, who knows. Their numbers across the whole year were actually really rather similar. But it's interesting to look through these numbers, right? Because you can see that these two guys were the strongest players from a KD perspective. Shotzzy was down here in 12th with a 1.05 with a very high Slayer rating, which is expected kills in a 5-map series that goes the distance. And you can see by Dashy's numbers, his objective time was actually weaker. And I know that objective time isn't everything, because as Shotzzy says, there's more to it than that. But yeah, his objective time was actually lower than Cell's in Hardpoint, and his KD was lower in Search and Destroy. He had more first bloods than Cell and fewer first deaths than Cell, so his efficiency in Search and Destroy getting first bloods was actually really good. And then in Control, Dashy was just mega that year. Because to be fair, in Control, say what you want about capturing zones, which Dashy didn't really do a lot of. Neither did Pred that year, as you can tell, nor did HyDra, which is pretty funny. Obviously, they were on different teams back then to where they are today, and this is before Pred went to OpTic and before HyDra even went to Thieves and all this. Obviously, this is years ago now, but still pretty funny. And yeah, Dashy had fewer ticks captured than Cell, but in Control, getting a load of kills is obviously pretty important. So it's just interesting to look back on, right? Because there was a debate that year, Dashy or Cell, who should have been the MVP, based on what Shotzzy's having to say, probably can't have been Dashy. But also, on that logic, maybe the same logic should apply to Cellium as well. I think it's been very interesting if I filter this by the most recent season, we just go to Black Ops 6 here and see where we sit. Okay, Kicks didn't play for all that much, but, you know, Cellium at a 1.17 this season. And Cell was very, very good, right? I don't want to take anything away from Cell because this guy was frying almost all of the time, and definitely a player that you build around if he's available. But, you know, questions on his playstyle are still there because Dashy this season had a 1.06, and I know that the season was a bit of a shambles, and if we filter by, you know, let's just say the World Championship, and we filter by Major 1, maybe when they weren't completely terrible, and Major 4, I don't know, then what do we see? Dashy, I mean, yeah, Dashy still got only a 1.03, right? So I think my point is, and Cellium has a 1.12 across those tournaments. Point is that Dashy this year, even when they were doing okay, was still his, like, KD wasn't anything crazy. And Shotzzy is perfectly happy with that because it led to more championship victories and success. Even if we filter out for Major 1 when they did come top 8 and we just go Major 4 where they were top 4 in the World Championship, you know, Shotzzy had a 1.1, Dashy had a 1.08, right? So, you know, numbers were still good, but not where Cellium's were, even in tournaments where he was bopped out top 6, etc. So intrigued to your thoughts as always on all of that stuff in the comment section below. And speaking of Cell, just one final thing. Active streak of 1 KD or more tournaments. Cell now moves to 29 consecutively. Geo at 7, he didn't play at Champs. JoeDeceives at 5. Huke at 4. Rencor at 4 as well. Then Mercules at 3, which is, you know, pretty typical. He's already here because he's not played much, but makes sense. Envoy, aBeZy and Gwinn. Scrap's 11 streak and Simp's 10 streak came to a dramatic end at Champs this year, but HyDra is still very much there, and to me probably still the most impressive player on this list as it stands. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.